Hi, welcome to Now TV Canada, aka Future Productions. Welcome to 2026. I am your host, aka narrator, reader, and writer, Jennifer Cooley. Um, so I said stuff in the previous year, just like a week ago. So in 2025, I was telling people exciting new things were coming, changes were about to be made in 2026, and that it had something to do with sharing my work in a particular order as little videos of hearing me read stuff. And then, of course, down the road, audio stuff as well. So I'm going to try to get stuff out there in Audible and on the website. So I'll start there. In the description below, I tell you guys to keep your eyes watched for what's coming. There is a new website coming. So futureproductions.online is going to be bigger, badder, and better. And I would like to start with connecting what is available for all of you and what I'm doing. So on that website, people are going to be welcome to send me their headshots, color, black and white, and resumes, mini or full size, however you want to do it, and feature your main skills or areas of interest and training, either finished or in the process of doing, where you'd like to get your foot in the door and get a beginning somewhere now, leading into your future. So, like if you have little self-published works or just individual pieces of work that you would like to share, any demo reels of your video making skills or music videos or storytelling, you can add that up to the profile that you do all of this online at futureproductionsonline.com and the new website to come. And that is the key part of the next part, is that because you're doing all the uploading and sharing all of that stuff for yourself on the website, I only charge $20 for a filing fee, because it does take me and my staff some time to figure out where we're going to store it all, because we can't just have it all on a website, because things crash, stuff happens. And producers, directors, publishers, all over the world are going to want to have access to your information that I have to have stored someplace where I can give it to them in another format. So external hard drives, literal paper, old-fashioned copies of filing cabinets, and so on, and the ability to send stuff out in the mail, regular mail, not just always through attachments and emails, because some things just can't be delivered in that same way as real person time delivers. So the idea here is, after that filing fee is paid and you're listed as a registered person through futureproductionsonline.com website, they can come and look at all the profiles that are there. They have access to everything that's listed for all the members who've paid that $20 filing fee, and the work that they've put up there that they've shared, making it available for people to decide if they're interested in what you have and what you're showcasing. And then those people who find who they like on the site will contact me. They'll contact Future Productions, whether it's me or somebody associated with the work, answering the emails, to give an offer, to say, well, we like this person. We're interested in this. And so basically, I'm going to do two things here. One, they're going to make an offer where they're paying the coverage for the whole trip. So they're sending for you. They're finding the place for you to stay. They're paying for your stay there. Okay. And they're going to give you like the allowance you need for whatever coverage for immediate needs, and provide food. And you go do your auditions or your casting call stuff, and you don't have to worry about it. Two, they come here, or wherever here is. So wherever you are, wherever we meet together, because I might have to travel to be there on your behalf, and then they come there, and then I'm there to help witness that nothing weird goes on for you guys, because I know you all come at different ages, and when you're young and new, you need people that can be trusted around to help. And then they will do the stuff that way. And so I make you the offer that they make me. And in that contract, where you accept the offer, like the offer, that's where I would then get a little bit of something. Okay. And how much that something is will always be dependent on how much the offer's for, right? Um, I mean, I think on average, a person gets 5 to 10%, right? Sometimes the amounts are large. You get a lot of money, enough to live for the whole year without worrying about getting more work. And you're so happy you get more. A person will pay more. But that is neither here nor now. Um, it all depends on the relationship and the context of what the offer is, before deciding what kind of offer I could be given. I'm not too fussy. I'm going to make some money just from having the website and the $20 filing fee. So I'm just looking at the realistic amounts of the fees in traveling today, and it makes it hard for people to make a break in the industry. So you guys need more opportunities in having that kind of stuff covered by people who can afford that, to give you guys that room to breathe, ability to spread your wings and grow. So that's what I'm here hoping to help do for all of you. So keep your eyes out for those changes. You can send information early if you want to Future Productions in the email description below, underneath the current website the way it is. So that said, I'm going to move on from there. There's other stuff that's coming around Vocal Media Canada, which is connected to the Vocal Media, which is also down there. But today, I want to start with sharing a story from my Vocal Media. I'm gonna do like segments of different stories. I don't know how often. It's just when I can because I'm busy. But I want to get samples of my work out there to show people what it's like to be in the mind of a writer, to be a busy writer like myself, and a lifetime of writing, to show what it's like to have a creative mind the size of mine is, um, and what it's like to have options. You don't have to have everything finished all at once. You can have stuff started and have it there on file for years and get around to it eventually, or have people come and read and make an offer similar to what I'm saying with you guys on the website, where they're asking me to finish it because they're interested in making a play, a musical, a dance number, um, book, or a movie, animated or person, whatever, puppet show, out of it. All right. So that's like a possibility of options financially to come. Also, making a book where you have like samples of stuff that never got finished, as like a resume of book type story, would also be kind of fun. So you've got that option. Before I go any further, I wanted to say that with my website with Future Productions, I am totally pulling the middle guy out, pulling the carpet out. I'm starting new. We're going to give new opportunities to everybody, kind of like how people moved to New York and started the Brill Building because people wanted to work for a living in the industry, in the areas they're skilled in, that they loved, and not starve to death, so they could support their families, so they could have families. I am accepting solicited and unsolicited materials. No matter what your art is, you're all allowed to come upload to Future Productions and share your work. Be mindful about what you're posting. Remember, it's public, the world can see it. So be considerate of others. I am a Christian based company. Everything I do will be Christian based. If something is inappropriate, it will not be allowed to remain up there. Um, and if it goes against what I practice in wanting to make the world a better place, and training, education, and all the other things that I'm trying to offer opportunities to people to have, for our new generations growing up, then it's also just not going to be allowed. So that said, I'm moving on to my story for today. You won't see me looking at you from here. I'm going to be reading off another link over here. I'm going to be reading my segment of the sample work I wrote for Tinkerbell. It's Tinkerbell's story. So it's Peter Pan and the Lost Boys in Tinkertown, Tinkerbell's story. So this is below in the description. You can link to it. You can subscribe monthly to me there. You can just leave tip 1 penny if you want. And here goes the story that I'm sharing with you guys today. So there is like a little section where you write at the top a little intro about what's going on. Something happens in Neverland that doesn't happen often, or quite possibly has never happened at all. However, Peter Pan wouldn't be able to remember things for all of time. After all, he was only still just a boy and has been for such a long time. He doesn't know how much time that really is. Anyway, one day, Tinkerbell gets bad news about her family, and she's being requested to come home at once due to the emergency. So an adventure ensues for her, Peter Pan, and the Lost Boys, one beyond anything their wildest dreams could ever compare. This is one story and journey you surely don't want to miss out on. Let's discover Tinkerbell's world together. Sincerely, the writer. Ha ha. That would be me, Jennifer Cooley. And then there's a beautiful picture of Tinkerbell flying off. Bunch of Tinkerbells. Anyways, down we go to the story. Peter Pan was walking to the treehouse after his early morning walk. He liked to go for walks when things were still quiet, while most residents were still sleeping. It gave him a chance to sort out things he was thinking before having a good day. Upon arriving to the front of the treehouse, Peter Pan noticed something different. There was something in the letterbox there, something that has never been there before in the letterbox. So Peter Pan opened up the top and removed what was inside. Surely enough, it was a long white envelope. Oh, sure enough, it was a long white envelope, properly addressed and everything. How excited Peter Pan thought as he closed the lid to the letterbox and went inside the treehouse. Peter Pan says, "Look, everyone, look! Something different happened. Something more different than the usual different stuff that happens in Never Neverland." Fully waking everyone from their slumber, one by one the Lost Boys come from their beds towards Peter Pan and where he was standing with the letter. Lost Boy 1 says, "What is it, Peter Pan? What is so exciting and new that we're missing breakfast over it?" Peter Pan says, "You're not missing breakfast. You're just going to have it a little later than usual today. I found a letter in the treehouse letterbox. We've never had a letter in the treehouse letterbox before. Nothing that I can ever remember of the relation to time and my being a boy here in Neverland." And Lost Boy 2 says, "Why, of course not, Peter. That's because we can't read. So what reason would anyone have to send us a letter?" And Peter Pan says, "Well, maybe someone wanted to send us a picture or something that didn't require us to read. That kind of mail could always show up. You never know. So having a letterbox is still important. And look, now I have proof it is," he says with a smile, holding the letter up for everyone to see. Lost Boy 3 says, "Well, what does it say, Peter? I mean, who is it for?" Peter Pan, "I don't know. I can't read. But we all know our alphabet, so together we should be able to figure out who it's to. Isn't this exciting? A letter in the letterbox, a letter to the treehouse, and something new has happened. I always love it when something new happens. It makes me so happy. It's such a wonderful thing." Lost Boy 4 says, yes, it is exciting. I concur. I like it when new things happen in Never Neverland. It makes going to sleep and waking up the next day worth it every day. Okay, I know my alphabet really good. Did you want me to start it off? I mean, maybe it's for me." Peter Pan says, "No, I don't think so. I mean, not that I don't want you to get a letter. I just mean that the first letter that's on the envelope telling who it's addressed to is a T. Your name doesn't start with a T." Lost Boy 4, "No, my name doesn't." "Okay, so then whose name here does?" Peter Pan, now over at the table, puts the letter down on it so everyone can see it. All the Lost Boys gather around the table like they do when they are getting ready for a food fight. Only this time, there is no food fight. This time, it's something new. All the Lost Boys start talking at the same time, all of them trying to figure out what letters are on the envelope. One of them says, "I." The next letter on the envelope is I. Another Lost Boy says, "And the letter after that is N." Peter Pan says, "And the one after that is K. I think I can sound that out." Do you boys want to help me? Lost boys all, of course, at once say, Of course we do, Peter. All together in a big group, they all start sounding out the letters they have read so far. Tink. Oh, I get it. I think I got it, Peter says. He goes on to say, I'm pretty sure, almost positive, or very certain that those letters sound out tink. The letter they all say at the same time is for Tinkerbell. Yay! They all go about being very excited about their great new day, saying Tinkerbell's name so loud that it woke her from her sleep and caused her to leave her bed. And when she got to where they were all standing, she said, What is going on? Why are you all saying my name? Are you guys talking about me behind my back? You know they call that gossiping, and gossiping isn't a very nice thing to do to someone. It can lead to all kinds of problems. I thought we were all friends in the treehouse. Peter Pan and the Lost Boys all start talking to her at the same time, telling her about the new thing that has happened at the treehouse this morning. How Peter Pan found a letter in the letterbox that the post officer brought to the treehouse, and none of them can really read, but that they all knew their alphabet, and so together they sounded out who the letter was for. Tinkerbell. Oh, good. I was worried that I might have to leave the treehouse and go find some other friends or place to stay in. And Peter Pan says, We love you, Tinkerbell. You are part of the treehouse family, and you will be forever and ever. We would never gossip about you. In fact, I don't think we gossip about anyone ever. That's not allowed in Never Never Land. If someone has got something to say to someone, then you just go and say it to that someone. And Tinkerbell says, Okay, Peter, I believe you. Now let me see that letter addressed to me, because I can read. I have higher education than all of you. I have education. So to us, so that when we go on missions in the world, we can do our jobs as fairies for the people we are sent to help. I'm so excited to get something in the mail. I almost never thought a letter of any kind would ever come for me, but I always believed that the treehouse would get mail one day. Who'd have thought that the first letter to the treehouse would be for me? Gee whiz, aren't I lucky? One of the Lost Boys brings the letter over to Tink. She takes it from him graciously. She, oh my goodness gracious, it's from she. But how could this be possible? I am so happy to see a letter here from she, from all the people I could ever get a letter from. And Peter Pan says, Who is she, Tink? Tinkerbell goes on to open the letter and starts reading it and says, Just a minute, Peter. I'm busy reading the letter I got from she, who sent it all the way from Tinkertown. At least that's what it says on the envelope. See? She hands Peter Pan the envelope without looking, her face planted deep in the letter like she is reading a good book or something. After all, getting a letter in is the next best thing to reading a really good book, isn't it? Tinkerbell says, Oh, look, it even comes with a map on the second page. Isn't this interesting? She remarks as she reads on and what else is in the letter after separating the second page from the first, without reading one word out loud, leaving Peter Pan and all the Lost Boys in suspense. She read it to herself, first walked away after giving them the envelope. The letter says, Dear Tink, it is all right that I call you this, isn't it? After all, it's been so many years since I've seen you. It's hard to know how much a person's changed. For all I know, you might very much just like being called Tinkerbell. I hope this letter finds you well. We have spent a great many years mapping the planets, getting to know the stars in an attempt to try and find you. After 50 years of hard work, we believe our efforts have finally paid off. Based on your travels from Tinkertown to Earth, where you went when you left home for your first mission, we looked at the planets surrounding Earth leading to Tinkertown and calculated where planets were, the ones you would have most likely landed on, losing your way home. Since it was your first mission and all, we realized you had no map because you were certain you could find your way back to your own. Do you remember that? Anyway, we are all here in Tinkertown and assumed you must have just gotten lost. Things haven't been the same since you left. All the cousins miss you and your family as well. Going on rides are just not as fun as they were in the beginning because everyone has missed who's been missing. And that's you, of course, Tink. We have given you special instructions on the map to help you on your travels in order to bring you home. It is important you return home. There is much that needs to be done, things that need to be discussed. Please be sure that the map does not fall into the wrong hands. We wouldn't want any unwanted visitors in Tinkertown, people that might cause problems in a place that has always been so beautiful and fun to live in and was obviously meant to stay that way. When you return, we can celebrate this wonderful occasion by throwing a party. I would also love to visit the place you have made home for these last 50 years. If you are indeed in Neverland, then I have heard a great many things about that place and look forward to witnessing it with my own eyes. It would be exciting to see someplace new outside of Earth and our normal neighbor planets. Everyone has grown so much, and seeing how you look would be most interesting. I have grown quite large myself, Tink, as I'm sure you will see soon. Please send a reply through the post officer to let me know that this good news and the map has found you indeed. I look forward to receiving a letter from you, for it would be the first one, and that's something to be excited about. We all miss you so much. I miss the laughter and adventures we used to have together. Everyone in Tinkertown looks forward to all the new adventures to come with you, a part of our lives once again. Again, be sure you keep that special map out of harm's reach, and be sure to follow the sun's dial and its instructions. It is important if you wish to arrive in Tinkertown on time and safely, since those special times are the only times which you can travel in order to reach home before the sun goes down and it becomes completely black in outer space. Take care, and I shall not sleep a wink until your reply arrives. Yours truly, madly, deeply, Cousin She. Right? Your second cousin, twice removed. I think I've written more stuff, just not put it in there, but the emergency is about family, because even Tinkerbell's age, they just age slower, kind of like Superman's and all those superheroes. They live longer than regular humans. Anyways, on with the story. A little while later, after some time had passed since that most very exciting letter from Cousin She arrived, Peter Pan went looking for Tinkerbell, for the Lost Boys and him had discussed a very important letter and what it was they all wanted to do. It was unanimously decided that they wanted to write a letter back to Cousin She. But all of the Lost Boys and Peter Pan quickly came to realize what their dilemma had happened to be. And that, of course, was the obvious, that none of them could write. They couldn't write well at all. So it was decided that they would all need to learn. And the only person Peter Pan and the Lost Boys knew that could read and write was, of course, Tinkerbell. So after voting on it, they all again unanimously decided that Peter Pan would be the one to go and talk to Tinkerbell about her teaching them how to write this very important letter of reply to Cousin She. Peter Pan couldn't find Tink in her little house, so he thought a little while about where she could possibly be, and then it happened. An answer came, and Peter remembered that Tink sometimes liked to go off and be by herself to think. She liked to do that, go think about things by herself. Peter Pan thought that was a good exercise. Maybe he and the Lost Boys should try doing more thinking themselves. But that, of course, would have to wait till later, when there was more time for them to do it. For right now, though, it was time to go find Tinkerbell. So Peter Pan went walking towards Tink's thinking spot. And sure enough, when he looked up to see if she was sitting in her favorite spot, it was the very same spot where Peter Pan first found and met Tink when she came to Neverland all those years ago. There she was sitting, looking quite content in her aloneness, which is something Peter Pan and the Lost Boys all agreed themselves that they hated. None of them liked to be alone much at all. But that aside, Peter Pan got as close as he could before saying, "Hello, Tink," and Tinkerbell said, a little bit surprised to see Peter Pan coming to visit her in her thinking spot. Took a few seconds to reply and said, "Hello, Peter Pan. It's nice to see you here. Did you come to think with me?" Peter Pan says, no, not today, Tinkerbell. The Lost Boys and I are kind of busy." But we all have all unanimously agreed that we do need to try out this thinking thing. You do, and we will too, I'm sure of it. We just don't know when. I'm actually here, Tink, on behalf of the Lost Boys and myself to ask you if you could do a really wonderful thing for us. Tinkerbell says, okay, Peter. And what is this wonderful thing you would like me to do for all of you that you can't seem to do for yourselves? Tink said, this, of course, with the most wonderful smile on her face. Peter Pan says, well, Tink, the Lost Boys and I decided that we wanted to write a letter back to your cousin She, to thank her for writing a letter to the treehouse and to introduce us and to introduce ourselves to her, and of course to invite her to come to visit Never Neverland anytime she would like. Only there is something in the way of this wonderful idea we all have, and that is that none of us can read and write like you can, of course. I mean, of course, we can sound out little words and we know our alphabet, but as for letter writing, that is something altogether new in Never Neverland. There has never been a need to write a letter of any kind before to anyone in particular, until now, that is. So, Tink, in short, all of us, so Tink, in short, all of us realized that as far as we know, you are the only person in Never Neverland that can read and write. At least the only person we know we can trust to teach us that. Whew, that was a tongue twister. So, Tinkerbell, that is what the Lost Boys and I would like to know. Will you help us learn to read and write better so we can write this letter of reply to your cousin She that we so would like to do? Tinkerbell says, why, Peter? Why didn't you or one of the Lost Boys come ask me this sooner? Of course, I will teach you all to read and write as much as you would all like to learn, so that you can all write so much more than just this wonderful letter of reply to cousin She, which I'm so certain she would love to receive from all of you, to learn that there is so many of you for her to get to know, and not just finding me after all these years of studying the solar system to find where to send the letter that she sent in the hope of finding me. In fact, Peter, I probably should have written a reply to her already, but that's sort of why I am here in my thinking spot today. I have never sent a letter to anyone from outside Never Neverland before, and I got to thinking about it and was wondering if a letter I write her back would indeed find its way to her back to Tinkertown, and if it would find its way there in good time. I decided while sitting here thinking that the answer was to go find this mysterious post officer that has always been here in Never Neverland and introduce myself, and then ask him the questions I have about how the post office works here in Never Neverland. Peter Pan says, so it seems that we are all on the same track then, Tink. I think your idea of finding post officer and speaking to him is a great one. After you do that, you can tell us everything the post officer said. Tinkerbell said, I most certainly will. And as for teaching you and the Lost Boys how to write your letter of reply to cousin She, we can start first thing tomorrow morning after everyone has had a good breakfast and are all wide awake, refreshed, and ready for the day. Everyone will learn best, I think, at the beginning of a new day, because no one will be tired. So it is then that everyone will think and learn the best. Peter Pan says, thank you so much, Tinkerbell. This is so exciting. All these new things keep happening in Never Neverland ever since that wonderful day that the letter from cousin She arrived in the treehouse post office box. I will go and tell the Lost Boys right away everything that you said, as I am sure they will be very pleased to hear the answer. And I bet you anything, every one of them will go to bed earlier than they usually do, just so they can be extra rested for tomorrow morning's first lesson from you and teaching us how to write our letter of reply to cousin She. I will also be sure to tell them about your idea to go meet the post officer and ask your questions about how mail leaving Never Neverland works. Tinkerbell. All right, Peter Pan. That idea sounds just fine to me. Also, going to bed earlier than usual by just a little bit probably will help them learn just a little better than usual. But make sure no one goes to bed too early, Peter, because then everyone will be up too soon. And when I go to teach the class, everyone could actually be getting tired again because of getting up too early. All of these sleeping rules can be ever so confusing, don't you think, Peter Pan? Peter Pan says, "Yes, yes, quite right, Tinkerbell. It is indeed ever so confusing, but I will be certain to tell the Lost Boys everything that you said about sleeping. In fact, I am getting tired just from all the talking about it. I like sleeping. It's probably almost my most favorite thing to do, with the exception of eating food and food fights, of course. You are indeed ever so special to us, Tink. And now, with you helping us with this very big thing, you will be just that much more important to us." Tinkerbell says, "Of course, Peter, of course. Only food fights are quite messy, so you don't want to do too many of those because afterwards everyone has to clean it all up. And you and the Lost Boys are not so good at that cleaning part stuff. I guess that's from being young forever in Never Neverland, because all of you want a mother to look after you, and that is something we do not have here in Never Neverland. But we don't want to talk about such sad things. We want to stay focused on the most very exciting new thing, the letter from Cousin She, and you all learning how to write her back." Peter Pan said his goodbyes to Tinkerbell. After understanding where she was going to go from her favorite thinking spot, and turned in the other direction and started back to where all the Lost Boys were so he could go tell them all this wonderful news. What none of them were aware of was the great, big, important thing that Tinkerbell was actually sitting there thinking about, besides talking to the post officer. But she dare not bring it up to Peter Pan and the Lost Boys right now. For this, there would have to be a perfect time and place, and right now, at this very minute, or on this very day, it most certainly was not the right time or place. But Tinkerbell was thinking about, of course, the most obvious thing that the rest of them hadn't yet realized or thought about, and that was, of course, about Tinkerbell now being able to go home, back to Tinkertown, to be with her family. With there being no mother for Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, Tink had been spending all this time thinking in her favorite thinking spot that this could be a problem, since that has been her job since she got lost trying to find her way home and winding up living here with all of them. What would they do if they were living without a mother type girl, being her, like meaning a fairy around? Tinkerbell knew there had to be the right time and the right moment to talk about this very important other new thing. But for the moment, Tinkerbell decided that letting everyone enjoy their learning how to write back to Cousin She was the best thing to do for everyone, giving them some time of their own to think. After writing the letter, they might come to realize the decision that she ultimately, in the end, will have to decide about. For all the years she had just spent here being like a mother to Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, she really did like the idea very much of going home to see her family and friends, whom she hasn't seen in such a long, long time. But she couldn't stop thinking about how much older and how much everyone must have grown and changed in all that time. Then, of course, there was her own mother and father and brothers and sisters, and oh, how she missed them all so much too. How many more of them there might be since she left, and how everyone is doing, and of course, she couldn't forget her very own bedroom. Would it still be there? And would it be exactly the same as the way she left it? I guess there would only be one way to find out, but that won't be happening today. So she decided that there was no sense in dwelling on it any longer. I can't have a sip. Instead, rather, it was time to visit the post officer and think about tomorrow morning's lesson plan. She had to figure out what and exactly how she was going to teach them to learn to read and write better. On that thought, Tink got up from her spot and flew away. Then a time passed. 24 hours in Never Neverland. Time, that is, which to Earth could mean anything. Anyway, it was decided today's the day. Tinkerbell says on this new day, "Today's the day. Yes, today is the day I shall teach Peter Pan and the Lost Boys how to read and write. Today they will learn to write that letter back to Cousin She. They want so to do." Which, of course, I think, as Cousin She's cousin, is a most wonderful, beautiful, gracious thing to do. I mean, I was, of course, going to write Cousin She a letter myself. Now she can get 2 letters, one from me and one from Peter Pan and all the Lost Boys. Tink hurriedly flew from one place to another in Never Neverland, getting this thing or that thing or another thing, taking it all to the same place, where once she had everything she needed, there she prepared every seat, every place each one would sit at, and each had the exact same thing. Then she went to the front of the classroom and stood before her big teaching size chalkboard, where she concentrated quite adult like on the teaching matter at hand. She wrote with chalk that she had in her hand until the board was filled just right with everything that was needed on this day to teach Peter and the boys all that they would need to know to write Cousin She that letter. They are also excited to write. When Tink was done preparing the class in the room, she saw the time and saw that it was time to get the attention of the others and bring them all together in this classroom. So she flew to the treehouse and was quick to enter. Upon entering, she could see by the darkness and silence that everyone was having a lazy day in the treehouse, for they were all still in bed, having not even eaten breakfast yet. Tink thought, wonder what matter should I use to wake the bunch and bring to light that today is school day and that there is no time for sleepers inners. Oh, I know, she says, as she quickly goes to the spot where the bell sits on the mantle in the treehouse. She reaches out for it. She noticed quite quickly that it was sort of kind of heavy. It was one of the old bells, but not quite a school bell because it was held in the hand. Tink, not being the strongest person, had to cheat a little and use a bit of her pixie dust while holding it as she could. There the bell suddenly was afloat, and she tugged and tugged, waving up and down on the bell's handle. Just like that, it started to clang and bang, ring-a-ling, ring-a-ling, ring-a-ling. Hear the bell ring? Tink then said, "Up, up, everyone! Time to get up! No time to dilly-dally on this Never Neverland Saturday." She wasn't so sure it was a Saturday. She hadn't checked the calendar in some time, but saying Saturday sounded good to Tink, so Saturday it was. Like good children, the Lost Boys and Peter Pan found their way out of bed and to the food table area. Most of them had rumbling tummies and were rubbing their bellies. Peter Pan, a bit grumpy on this Saturday, comes out to the food table area and says, "Hey, what's the meaning of ruining my great sleeper inner day? All the Lost Boys and me were having fun dreams of a sort, right, guys? Right, Lost Boys? We were too right, having great dreams." He turns to look at them, all still rubbing the sleep from their eyes, wondering why there was no food on the table yet. And that's when one of the Lost Boys replied to Peter Pan. Lost Boy 1 says, "Well, actually, Peter, I don't remember. Were we having good dreams? What I do know is my stomach's rumbling, telling me it's time for good eating. Only there is no food on the table." So turning to Tink says, "Shan't we all eat first before you tell us what it is we are doing today? That is so important that you woke us from a sleeper inner day?" Tink, of course, said, "Why, certainly all of you may eat for breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and with that food in your stomach, you shall be like prize students, and your concentration will be in good order, and you shall all be in good spirits. But quick, for there isn't too much time since it was a sleeper inner day, of course. You all have lost some good eating time." Peter Pan realized quickly he lost the argument he was trying to make, because he too had forgotten what he was dreaming about on this fine sleeper inner day. And like the others noticed, he was hungry for food as well. Besides, in Never Neverland, no one argues or is allowed to really be grumpy anyway. So they'd forgotten what had been discussed already yesterday. So like the sleeper inner day on a Saturday, in his head yesterday sounded like a good idea to have as a school day. And since they don't know their Mondays to Sundays, it could be any day. But now they've been woken, and always people who wake up early change their mind and always want us to be sleepy. And of course, some like to eat right away. And so there we are in the story. So Peter Pan goes on to say, I'll fetch the spoons and the bowls. Tink, can you use some pixie dust to hurry things up a bit by having all the food, cereals, and milk brought over to the tables? Tink said, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt, but only this one time because it is a sleeper inner day, so everything is a little behind schedule. All the Lost Boys said, thank you to Tinkerbell, all at once as they took up their spoons and bowls and the other food stuff that Peter Pan was bringing over to the table in order to help prepare it. With all the things that many people need. Very quickly, everyone had toast and grape jelly and honey and milk and cereal and juice in their big bangarang special treehouse mugs. Once everyone was all filled up, they wiped their milk and juice mustaches off on their clothes, and most everyone proudly burped from being full. That done, they turned with contented smiles and said, as a group, Lost Boys, now what, Tinkerbell, now what? We all have lots of energy now. We are ready to take on the sleeper inner day with whatever plans you have for us. And Tink says, great, now that everyone is full, follow me to the very important spot. For what I have planned today, there was no room for inside the treehouse. How I did pick a very good spot. But I did pick a very good spot. With that said, everyone filed out of the treehouse door, leaving all the food stuff on the table, of course. After all, they were just boys. It could wait to be put away later. And then one by one, they all followed Tink to the perfect specialty spot that she set up the classroom for everyone in. Tink was sure to bring the bell with her too. Tink says, okay, everyone, quickly grab yourself a spot to sit and get comfortable and notice the things on the tables in front of you. Pick them up and quickly get familiar with them and what you think they are for. Afterwards, I will then tell you if you are right. Peter Pan noticed right away on the big, huge chalkboard at the front of the class that there was writing on it. Some of it he could understand because it was simpler stuff to read. He could see that Tink had written out the entire alphabet on the chalkboard. And looking further on the board, he saw some other words he remembered sounding out and reading before. So he didn't say anything about what he knew was there written on the chalkboard in front of everyone. He thought it more fun to see who of the Lost Boys would remember that day and what they learned to sound out and read. Tink grabs her long stick and hums her throat a few times while donning her very important smart speckles, which Peter Pan remembers only seeing Tink wear once before. Peter Pan turns to the Lost Boys next to him and leans in and whispers, if Tink is wearing her important smart speckles, then this really must be a very important special learning day. The Lost Boy shook his head and without really knowing the answer, just agreed with Peter Pan, being that he's older and knows more. So if anything, Peter Pan would know about the smart speckles and probably would be right. Then he turned his attention toward Tink, like the other Lost Boys were starting to do as well. As they put the boards down on their desks and stopped scribbling with the specialty color chalk that they had to go with the board and brush to clean the board off and tried paying attention to Tink, which for Lost Boys wasn't the easiest task in the world to do because they are so easily distracted by such things as flies and spiders and other boy stuff with the short attention spans that boys tend to have. But still, here they were, all trying to do their very best for the teaching Tink. Tink goes on with banging the board ever so teacher-like to quiet down the room. Then she takes the bell and clangs it, but only 3 times before saying, okay, boys and girls, well, rather boys, since I am most certainly the only girl in the room, settle down into your seats, for class is now in session. This is our very ever so special school day, where everyone following my instructions will learn to write that group letter you want to write my cousin, my second cousin twice removed, she, that you all asked Peter Pan to ask me to teach you all how to write. Today is the day that this is what I'm going to do. Everyone in the room cheered with excitement. Hooray! Today we're going to learn how to read and write. We are going to get to write Cousin She, that very special letter of reply. We want to write to Cousin She. Hooray! Today is a very special day indeed. Then I have a little break. But anyways, Tinkerbell goes on to say, okay, now that you all have had time to get familiar with your chalkboard and coloring chalks, I want everyone to take their eraser board brushes and clean off their chalkboards with it because our lesson plan is to begin. After everyone listened to Tinkerbell's instructions, they showed off their empty chalkboards and said, now, what do we do, Tinkerbell? And Tinkerbell says, well, it is so good to see such enthusiastic learners. This should make the learning that much more fun. Okay, to start with, class, we are all going to learn to write out the whole alphabet, like I did here on the chalkboard. Tink pointed with her teacher stick. Everyone jumped a little in their seats when the stick hit the board with a tap. Tink then said, oh, did I do that? I'm sorry. Guess I am getting a bit carried away with my teaching job and my teacher stick. With a big smile, she chuckles and gets everyone else laughing too. The Lost Boys were very excited about writing out the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, until one of the Lost Boys stopped because he noticed everything was done twice and he asked Tink, Tink, why is there two letters so close together on your big chalkboard? Oh, how silly of me. I should have explained that right away. Well, everyone, you see, each letter of the alphabet has a very special purpose. And to do its job properly requires that each letter has two sizes, a big one and a little one. Big, small. You see here, this is the big A. Beside it is the little a. So it looks like this as you see on the board. Big A, little a, big B, little b, big C, little c. Without the second size one, we would not be able to write very well for things to make sense. It would seem like everyone is always yelling at each other all the time on paper because everything would be in capitals. Some people hate capital writing, letter writing people. And that could possibly give some people headaches. So they have to have the smaller letters to do the very important job of writing out most of the message without being loud. The big letters after are for the beginning of sentences and letters and very important papers. Does everyone understand now? The room got very quiet as they were all hard at work trying to write out just the big letters on their small chalkboards. The little letters would just have to wait. They had to erase and try again until they got the size right to fit the whole alphabet in one size on their chalkboards. When this was done, everyone practiced saying the alphabet and reading the letters to each other. This eventually led to the beginning words of the letter Tink had written out on the board for the very important letter to Cousin She. They all wanted to write to her. Okay, good. Now that I can see everyone is ready to move on to the beginning of the letter you want to write to Cousin She, as you can see here, I have already started it for you. If someone would like to be the official person to write the real letters on the real paper, that is the official letter you will be sending to She over in Tinkertown, please put your hand up and let us begin. After the one was chosen, before the following letters were put on the paper, they all practiced on their boards first to make sure there would be no spelling mistakes. So the first words to their first letter to her say, Dear Cousin She. Now on my screen, it's the capital D and then capital C and capital S in She. And in this reference, She is the name of her cousin, so it's spelled Shee, in case all of you are wondering. Now, for the sake of the Lost Boys, I kind of brought the Dear Cousin She a little close together because they're just learning and they're trying to get it onto the paper properly. And they've never done this before. So it wouldn't look like, somebody who's known English for many years and written lots of letters. Tink explained that a lot of the time, only the first letter at the beginning is large, as well as the first letter of someone's name, or places like countries would have capitals to start the word off. But today, to be a bit bold to show our welcome to she, Tink thought it would be okay if all the first letters in the beginning of the letter were big. This way, Cousin She would certainly know how welcomed she is. After some hours, about 3, Tinkerbell decided to ring the bell again and told everyone it was time for lunch break. Everyone agreed their stomachs were rumbling again. They were all sweating so hard from the thinking they had just been doing as they worked together, one person at a time, writing a sentence or words in the letter they were writing to Cousin She, that Tinkerbell was right. It was lunchtime and very much time to eat again. The Lost Boys and Peter Pan had no idea how sweaty and hungry all this learning and thinking work could make them. So they knew they'd appreciate their lunch food on this special learning day, lunch break, much more than they usually do on their other lunch days. Peter Pan says, "It shall most certainly indeed be exciting to see the letter when it's finished. If we keep working this hard together on it, we should have the letter finished by the end of our sleeper inner day, first day of school day." Tinkerbell says, "Yes, Peter, I would agree with that guess that if everyone doesn't overeat at lunch, they shouldn't go get too tired. And in the afternoon of our school on this sleeper inner day, you and the Lost Boys can have finished your very first ever written letter that you all worked so hard on to get done together all on this day." Peter Pan says, "Maybe we should mark this day on the treehouse calendar as a special day and date to remember when it's all done." Tinkerbell and the Lost Boys all agreed with Peter Pan because none of them have no memory of when they've ever thought so hard and worked so well together that remembering this day on the Never Never Land Forever to Remember calendar would be a most wonderful thing to do. With that said, Tink rang the bell again and told everyone they were free to go back to the treehouse, clean up their breakfast mess, and go ahead and have lunch. And that in school on Earth in Tinkertown lunch was usually about 1 hour, which is 60 minutes. She explained that with her fingers and her chalkboard, when they were certain to understand, she sent them on their way. So 6-0. Peter Pan was old enough now that he knew for certain what an hour was because of how long he's been in Never Never Land, waiting to grow up, going through hour after hour, and for the Lost Boys' parents to come. But we won't get into that now. That would be for another time. Right now, it was lunchtime, and that was the one thing everybody understood perfectly as they ran and played together all the way back to the treehouse. They all laughed and smiled and had a good time right through their special sleeper inner day, first day of school day ever, lunchtime period. To be continued. Written by Jennifer Cooley. Speaking of lunchtime and what time it is here, I would be the late luncher. It's like just after 1 in Gatineau, Quebec time. So that is my reading of Tinkerbell's story, Peter Pan, and what I have typed up. There is a lot in my mind still that's roaming around that has never been penned. I've not had the chance. I'm much like Sylvester and very classic natural writers where things flow better on paper by pen, but it gets exhausting because then you have to type it up also. But I need a new computer really bad. This is full. And this is why I make the live videos and I record everything at once because I just don't have it in me to do anything else while my companies are growing and I'm moving around for whatever reason. but that's changing. I do have my desktop set up back in Vancouver, so don't worry. It isn't all going to always just be like this in long videos. There will be shorter segments of stuff, especially as it goes up on Audible and up on the new website. But I want to start my new year with sharing the stories that are started, um, and let people know about my work and what it means to be in my mind and be creative, in the sense of who I am and all that I know and have seen, and be true to my word and sharing the same concept of what I'm trying to build with Future Productions for all of you, and how that applies to my own life, right? Because it wouldn't be right if I wasn't, living it that way myself, right? So you guys know to trust me and put yourself in the hands of Future Productions, knowing it's good. So Peter Pan story is done. The next one's going to be my Charlie Brown story, which is one of the reasons I'm over here on this side for the winter, because it's a winter wonderland kind of fantasy story of the Charlie Brown and the gang all grown up as young adults. And it's sort of based around the little redhead girl reappearing, that left town when they were all little kids, and Schroeder's music career. And I have other elements of surprise, but it would go from the story beginning in Christmas era all the way through to the Valentine's in February, um, and in that projected time frame. So I'm going to go, and you keep coming back for more stories. So I got lots of writing to do this year, and I can't wait to see who bids on what, or make requests through my vocal page on what they would like to see recorded. And I will make smaller segments as well for people to enjoy in smaller amounts as well. But that's it. I'm done for today. I am now going to go and do that lunch thing and charge this laptop. Hope everyone's had fun. Thank you for watching Now TV and my first video sharing one of my stories for the 2026 plan of what's coming for Future Productions for all of you, and for Now TV and my work on vocal. I have a new piece to type up that I've written there, so it officially is 270 new pieces, and then I will have some refined editing to done for this story, which will then refresh it and bring it back up into the top pages as well for people to find and click on and read. So enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Thank you for watching, and keep enjoying what's coming ahead. I am done talking about the Smallville reunion movie. You've Got Mail 2 and the Supergirl trilogy. I'm moving on to other stuff that I have written. I have lots of it, and I want people to get to know me and get to know all about that, so that you guys can order what you want through the website directly through me, cutting out the middleman and all that extra hoo-ha that we don't need to go through the headache of. Thank you. Bye for now. Mwah. Peace out. Superwoman signing out. Or the writer, CEO, and president of Future Productions. Da, da, da. Okay, bye.